What do you think about when you hear the word visionary, right? The word visionary. When I tell the word visionary to Mario, my buddy here, who works here on a daily basis, he thinks about Walter Mercado, because he likes to watch Walter Mercado from, is it Univision? On the other hand, my buddy here, Paul, Paul is a fan of Miss Cleo. He's a big fan of Miss Cleo tarot cards. That to him is visionary, right? And then we have visionaries, Amor, Moral, and Tikran. These guys sit around having Armenian coffee together, and they put their thumb in there with the Armenian coffee, turn it around for like 5 minutes, and then they say, someone is going to come visit you from a very far distance today, and they're bringing money with them, right? This whole visionary thing. I'm not talking about that kind of visionary. When I'm talking about visionary, I'm talking about real-time visionary. Because if you think about great countries, great civilizations, great churches, great businesses, great families, great anything, it becomes that because there was a visionary that casted a vision for that business, that family, that country, whoever it is, and people bought into it, and there was a lot of pressure on that visionary to make that vision become a reality. But a visionary is only an event away from being a phony. And a phony is only an event away from being a visionary. Let me explain what I mean by that. So, who is a visionary? When you think about a visionary, initially, a visionary has a vision that they see that the future, such and such is going to happen. Okay, whatever it may be. Here's what could happen. And many times, visionaries are probably some of the most misunderstood people in the world, because when a visionary gets up and says, we are one day going to go to America, the land of the free. And this is a family, they're living in Iran, they're living in China, they're in Russia, they're immigrants, they're in South America, and they want to one day come to America. Everybody in their family says, like a brother would say, you're crazy. No one's ever going to America. We're never going to get, citizenship to go from here. Are you out of your mind? And families will say things. Somebody will say, we are one day going to build a multi-billion-dollar opportunity that's going to do X, Y, Z. A lot of people would say, what an arrogant, conceited person to say that it'll ever happen. We are one day going to build the greatest nation in the world. What an arrogant group of people that live in this la-la land. You escaped Britain to come over here, and you think you're going to build the greatest country of all time when there's been civilizations that have been around for thousands of years. You're going to come out there and do something big? You are arrogant for saying that. So visionaries are misunderstood. They're violently opposed. People call them phony. They call them crazy. They live in this fantasy world. They're living in dreams, right? Because they say it. So because they say it, they're a phony. People say they're a BSer. He's a liar, total liar. Look what he says, they're going to do this. That's never going to happen. He's a liar. Don't believe him. You guys are never going to go to America and be free. He's a liar. He's just trying to sell you a lie. And at the end of the day, one of those two groups is going to be right. Because if a visionary doesn't fulfill any promise of his vision, then you have a phony. You ever met people that talk a very big game? Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they always say it. Eventually, nobody believes any word that's coming out of their mouth. That's a phony. And then you have the visionary. Now, there are different levels of visionary. Let's talk about the 3 different levels of what a visionary is. The highest level of visionary is somebody that's a world changer. That's the one that we read about in the books. Like, MLK, Martin Luther King, is a visionary where the world knows about, and he did something that's just out of this world. It wasn't something small. It affected everybody, right? Graham Bell, who said, people are going to talk amongst each other through a phone, a machine, a mechanism, no wires, no nothing. We're going to be able to talk to each other now. Graham Bell created this, right? When you think about Edison, how a light is turned on, that's a visionary. I'm going to light up the world, and people don't need a candle anymore. And he's a world-changing visionary. The second level of visionary is a, celebrity visionary. You can call this kind of visionary a famous visionary. So it could be an Ali who would say, I'm going to knock out such and such in 7th round. That's a visionary. He said he's going to do it, and it happened, right? Billy Bean, who is from the movie Moneyball, that said, the best way to put a team together is you don't need to go get the home run hitters. It's about on-base percentage, because if you go on base percentage, on how often this guy makes it on base, those are the teams that are going to make it. So the philosophy of Oakland, and then went to Boston Red Sox, and that's a visionary. That's a person who's a visionary. George Lucas made a movie, Star Wars, that they said this is never going to happen. He's out of his mind. What are you talking about to make a movie like this? You're full of it. You're arrogant. You're insane. He's lost it. He's a little bit of a maniac. He's nuts. He's crazy. That's a visionary, but that's a famous visionary, right? That's not a world-changing visionary, but that's still a visionary. But the kind of visionary that doesn't get a lot of credit is sometimes the everyday visionary. And let me explain to you what I mean by the everyday visionary. Listen, a family who sits down and a father says, boys, you know, this is a special family. And one day, all three of you are going to get a college degree, and you guys are going to have your own good families that you're going to raise. That could be a visionary. That's a pressure on the father, because the father has to work to provide, to put the kids through school, and there's a pressure on the kids to deliver on the vision. And kids don't believe it, that you're crazy. No one in our family's ever had a degree. We grew up in Compton. We grew up in, you know, Chicago, the bad side of Chicago. We grew up in, you know, Brooklyn. We grew up in bad parts of, you know, LA. We grew up in, no one's going to get a degree. No one in our family's ever gotten a degree. What are you talking about that? That's a visionary. But that's an everyday visionary that we don't see. That person doesn't necessarily get a recognition that's on a history books, but that person's going to get recognition in that family lineage that'll be remembered. That's still a visionary. When a family, a father or mother says, we're going to go to America one day, and the kids have some level of hope in them to believe, hey, you're watching that movie Rocky, one day we're going to take you to America. Hey, husband says to his wife, honey, you told me you're Italian, but you've never been to Italy before. I'm going to one day take you to Italy. That's a visionary. That's a visionary. He said, honey, I'm going to take you to Italy. That's an everyday visionary. And when he takes his wife to Italy, he went from a phony to a visionary, because the dream became a reality. And that's a visionary. That's a certain level of visionary that we're talking about. Now, again, I said it earlier, the difference between visionary and a phony is one event. A phony keeps saying what he's going to do and doesn't happen. A visionary doesn't. It does happen. So how does one go about, you know, becoming a visionary? When you think about, well, I want to be known as a visionary myself. Great. You know, there's a lot of pressures of being a visionary. This is why a lot of people don't want to be a visionary. For instance, what's the pressure of being a visionary? There's a very high likelihood of you being wrong. There's a very, very high likelihood of you being wrong when you claim to be a visionary. You know, there's a very high likelihood of it. You know, you could put that pressure on yourself. This is why when somebody claims that something's going to happen, they don't get a lot of sleep at night, because all they're thinking about is, I got to make sure this thing becomes a reality. So the pressures of being a visionary, whether it's on the everyday level or the famous level or the world-changing level, it doesn't matter. It's a lot of pressure of being a visionary, because the first step of a visionary is what? They envision something. They have a moment where they say, I think this is going to happen. And then you must share that vision and declare that vision and intention with other people. At the everyday level, could be to your family. Honey, our family's one day going to come together. We're all going to be under one roof one day, celebrating someone's birthday. It may take 10, 20 years, but this is going to happen. We will have a family reunion, even though we're all scattered all over the world, honey. That's going to happen. And then that person has the pressure of spending the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of making sure that event takes place, because it's important to them to become a visionary. It is important to them to become a visionary, right? So how do you constantly improve and become a visionary? You got to declare an intention and keep it. And the more intentions you declare and the more of your intentions you keep, the more stronger you're becoming of a visionary. The more you say it and nothing happens, the less everybody believes in your word, and the less you believe in your word, you are losing your credibility of a visionary, right? So it starts off with a small vision and it becomes a reality. Honey, I think in the next 90 days, I'm going to take you to a nice 3-day weekend. We're going to go to such and such place. Hold that commitment. Your wife may think it's not real, and then it happens. Boys, girls, if we do this, we're going to go to Disneyland before the end of the year. Kids see it. Oh, that's it. We're going to go to Disneyland. Boom, it becomes a reality. Kids, if you do good in your grades, I see ourselves going to Hawaii next year. Boom, it happens. You go to Hawaii. So now the family slowly but surely is starting to trust into what? Your word. And you on a certain smaller level are becoming the visionary of your family. You could say it in your business and say, listen, we're going to grow and we're going to be in 5 states within the next 24 months. And you go and turn into 6 states. People are now starting to trust your word. You say, hey, we're going to go out there and bring on board the best talent and we're going to do X, Y, Z. The trust that you have, people that have trust in your word goes higher. So then a visionary starts having a reputation. The moment you have the reputation of what you say becomes a reality, now you got to go and cast more difficult visions. Now you got to go out there and put your name on the line for more challenging things to do in life rather than the everyday ones, because you've already done that and your family already believes your word on what's going to be taking place, on the realities that's going to take place when you cast any kind of a vision and you declare your intention. So the higher and higher and the more commitments you make, next thing you know, you're going from, being the everyday visionary in your family to next thing you know, you're doing stuff that the world knows about. You're doing stuff that people are reading about. But I believe, in my opinion, everybody can strengthen their muscle of being a visionary. And that's including you. And it starts off with you declaring an intention to your family, declaring an intention to the people you work with, declaring an intention to those you're in business with, and going out there and taking that pressure that you have while everybody calls you crazy, everybody calls you a liar, a phony, all these rumors that are going to be created about you, whether this person has no clue what they're talking about, la 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 and all that stuff. And then when the vision becomes a reality, when the vision becomes a reality, the faith in your word goes to a whole different level. Not from you to you, but from a lot of other people to you, where the next time they're just hoping you don't declare any more intentions. Because if you declare more intentions, they know something crazy may happen because you fight so hard to keep your intentions because it's important to you to keep the reputation of a visionary. So we started off with my buddy here, Walter Mercado, and Miss Cleo, and we ended up coming back to you on what would happen if you wanted to be a visionary. If you want to go through it again, you can watch through it again. If you want to share with another person, please feel free to do so as well. You got any questions and comments, post it on the bottom. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks for watching.